Hi everyone, it's Victor speaking. And today I wanted to speak to you about a very sensitive topic. But I feel like plenty of us are struggling with this in the last 1.5 years. We have been locked up and, we have got time to reflect on our inner insecurities. So, this is something I feel like we should be talking about. And therefore, I thought that, I would make a couple of videos about this. Now, I would like to put out there that this is not a medical advice. This video is more about information to understand yourself a lot more. And the topic for today is anxiety, depression, and sometimes anger as well. So, but before we go into the astrological explanation, we need to look at what is anxiety. So, anxiety is an overreaction of the sympathetic nerve system. We also call it as the flight, fight, or freeze type of effect. When the body feels in danger, then either it flies or fight or actually freeze down. Now, I have already made a video about weight loss, which is probably one of the ways to build a defense mechanism. And sometimes it is one of the signs of stress as well, as we tend to overcompensate with eating. And we do that because we want to make ourselves feel happier. And I feel like, nowadays, all of us are victims of stress. And I thought that we would need to speak about this, how it might reflect in your personal chart. And, I do believe that everyone needs to be aware of this. And if we can help, then actually we should. So this is not something usually people open up about easily. But if you see any of those traits, I'm going to be listing at least top 10 indications of anxiety in your chart. And then if you find at least four of them, then, you can be a victim of that. And you need to be working on this. Now, one of the keys to make yourself happy is going to be the moon in your chart. The moon in houses and signs and the aspect as well. So therefore, I am offering a 50% discount on these webinars. I have detailed moon in signs. I think it was a 4.5 hour video. I have made one in moon in houses, which is approximately another 3 to 4 hour video, and the aspect as well. Now, one of the number one indication of anxiety or depression is when you have got your moon in conjunction to the north node. The reason being is because whatever north node touches, it actually magnifies it. It has got Jupiterian traits. So it can make people overly sensitive, especially if this conjunction takes place in water signs. So North Node is very much about external sources, and we are trying to find them. But the moon needs more like emotional connections. So what happens with the North Node is actually we go for substances, or we go for overeating, or being somehow obsessed with our partner, and so forth. This is also especially true when the moon is in a depressed sign, meaning that, that she is in the sign of Capricorn or Scorpio. So that's going to be number two indication of anxiety and depression. Now, when you have got moon in depressed sign, actually it could indicate that we are too much in our head and we're going to have to overcome that. I did make a video about moon in Capricorn. So if you do have got that constellation in your chart, then listen to that, because I'm going to be posting that onto the video so you can review it. But I haven't really spoken about moon in Scorpio yet. So let me just give you a brief description of moon in Scorpio. So moon in Scorpio has got a very strong instinct to know. and it's a lot deeper way than, for instance, Gemini does that, the Gemini moon, because Gemini moon is very curious as well, but it's more about on the superficial level. Scorpio wants to dig deep and wants to see beyond fact as fact as well. So Scorpio is more about searching for the truth rather than the facts. And, maybe with the moon in Scorpio, your mom did not really nurture you or cuddle you. Or maybe, when you had your monsters under your bed. You are good at, for instance, sensing the evil in people, but that could also scare you a lot. You know, a moon in Scorpio feels happy when there is some type of passionate experience around them. Yes, the transformation sometimes might hurt, but somehow moon in Scorpio craves for it, even subconsciously looking for those opportunities to change. When you have got moon in Scorpio, you don't even need a psychologist because you are your own psychologist. You have got the ability to work on yourself. Moon in Scorpio does need privacy and maybe like a lock on the door, but be careful about that because you can go overboard with it. Maybe you have got a hidden part of your house, kind of a lonely place where you can sometimes retreat a little bit. Moon in Scorpio does have got trust issues. So if you have got anxiety, one of the reason is because you don't trust your own abilities. And probably you don't go towards spirituality. You are reluctant to dig deep and seeing beyond facts. And also because it either you don't trust the system or you don't trust people around yourself. As Moon in Scorpio is slightly bit of a dramatic sign. So you definitely need a partner who can take the heat. You definitely need a partner who is going to be telling you the truth. Maybe sometimes it hurts, but probably you're going to appreciate that a lot more than some type of superficial type of way of communication and so forth. When you have got moon in Scorpio, one of the remedy is to expressing the taboos and the hidden things, remembering that nothing is hidden anymore in our society. So, there is social media. Sooner or later, people are gonna get to know everything about you. So it's better to bring the skeletons onto the surface rather than keeping them in the closet. So trust issues, having a very strong, deep connection. And when you don't have that with someone, or you feel that your relationship has become superficial, that's when anxiety could be happening in your life. Also, moon in Scorpio could have an obsessive nature. So you must ask yourself the question, in what ways am I obsessive? In what ways do I want to be in control of my own emotions? So you really lose your way with moon in Scorpio when you, for instance, stay in bed and you lick your own wounds. When you kind of having some darkened experiences around your heart. And when your moodiness does not lift, then you might want to actually, become non-existent. So these are the most important traits for moon in Scorpio. So as I said, I've done already a video about moon in Capricorn. So the link is going to be above. Have a look at that. You can learn a lot about yourself. Number 3 indication of anxiety is moon in connection to the south node, especially I'm talking about conjunction. Now, the south node is like an emptiness that has got the Saturnian traits. So in many cases, we don't want to experience our feelings, or we don't want to face the reality whatsoever. And we can become a little bit emotionally detached. So it's more or less about suppressing your own feelings. While the other one wants to control it. So one of the problem with this is that we don't face reality. We become emotionally empty, and And that could be the reason why you don't really find your path. You know that you've got your talents, but you don't exactly know where they come from. Moon rules over your hormones as well. So, which I'm going to be speaking about a little bit later on anyway. So, number 4 indication is going to be Moon and Saturn connections, or even with the Moon with outer planets. But Moon and Saturn, most probably a little bit more significant than the outer planets. So, when you have got Moon and Saturn connection, you want to be controlling your emotions. The key is not to suppress them at all, but take responsibility for them. So Moon and Saturn does need to learn to allow themselves to feel the emotions. You should not want to make sense of them at all. Moon and Saturn has got the tendency to have a fear of not having security in our life, or lack of comfort, or lack of support from others. You know, Moon shows in our chart what we are sensitive towards too. And you might be extremely sensitive to coldness, meaning when people are cold and detached, then actually it makes you vulnerable a little bit. You know, Moon and Saturn in many cases talk about some type of disability. Now, not necessarily just on the physical level, but it could talk about the fact that, oh, I must learn everything, and I get everything the hard way, or I receive tough love from others. So in a way, you're gonna have to learn about Saturn. You're gonna have to feel it in your bones. But we will be speaking about Saturn as well a lot more in detail. Now, usually Moon and Saturn connection had to learn at an early age how to set boundaries, and therefore they created kind of a cautious behavior. So Moon and Saturn connections are very much about self-containment. Actually, one of the remedies is to take care of elderly people, or to connect with elderly people, uh, or working with people who have had some rough times in their life. Usually, these people have got very strong moral codes. But also, you can be good at helping people to get back into parenting, for instance. Moon and Saturn, in many cases, had to grow up quite quickly. And, you know, that is one of the reasons why they are more cautious when it comes to expressing their emotions. In many cases, they even had to look after their parents or their siblings. Usually, there is an emotional conflict with the father, or some type of burden from him. So that would be our number 4 indication. Now, the next one, as I said, could be the outer planets. They might not be as strong, but very briefly, when you have got, for instance, Moon and Uranus connections in your chart, actually there could be an emotional switch, and you are easily able to cut yourself off from any type of emotional situation. So I usually laugh with the Moon and Uranus aspects, because it always comes to my mind the Vampire Diaries series, where they have got a humanitarian switch, and they switch it off, and you know, they just run around and kill people, and they don't feel anything. So that's exactly a Moon Uranus connection. And usually their mood can be quite unpredictable. Sometimes they attract suffocating situations, or maybe that's true with Saturn as well. They were grown up in a restrictive surroundings. And another one is Moon and Pluto. uh, the emotional nature can be quite Plutonian here. And the problem with the Moon and Pluto connection is that you might be capable of an extraordinary psychological self scrutiny, or even scrutiny of others. And you might be comparing yourself to others. And in many cases, these people become the victim of something. So with Moon and Pluto, we might have got the tendency to feel sorry for ourselves. And we feel that we are a magnet to disasters. So, and with Pluto, the question is always going to be who betrayed us? Why do we feel that we are betrayed and lied to? So these would be the number 5 indications. Now, another one is that Moon in difficult houses, which is the 6th, 8th, and the 12th. Now, those are quite hard aspects because, firstly, Moon is one of the luminaries, so it wants to shed light. And it's reflecting the light of the sun. But in the 6th, 8th, and 12th house, she is unable to do so. Now, these houses are called dark houses because they don't have a major aspect to your rising sign, which is basically you. So these are the area of life which is invisible for the native. So, for instance, with Moon in the 6th house is all about self-medication. And that's when people, for instance, tends to overeat because, because I have to be compensating somehow sometimes the emotional emptiness. So when you have got Moon in the 6th house, one of the key factors I would be saying that you're gonna have to learn how your body functions, what's good for my body and what's not so good. And watch out for any type of physical symptoms, such as digestive, being upset or overindulgence. Because what could happen here is that that's already a sign that something is not right in your life. And usually it's not being happy with your everyday activities or even with your work. So the Moon in the 6th house is all about learning to do some type of daily investments, which is going to be fulfilling, something you care about. It's kind of compulsory for you to have a job which you enjoy doing a lot. Now, yeah, that's very briefly. So if you are interested in that, I spoke about that at least for 25 minutes in the webinar. The next one is Moon in the 8th house. So this is another dark house, and this is a very intense area of our life. The happiness very much depends on how much you are able to control or deal with your fears, your insecurities, your intense feelings. Usually those can be depressed whose relationship is not that fulfilling. With Moon in the 8th house, we can become sometimes suspicious. Definitely, we've got some type of trust issues as well. Um, Now, I would say that when you have got Moon in the 8th house, at its best, it is all about learn to appreciate people you trust. But at your worst, you can get swallowed up by the darkness, by your own darkness. And I usually say that when you have got Moon in your 8th house, you are your worst enemy. Because you might be creating yourself some crisis situations, and of course you don't do that deliberately, but somehow a little bit of a chaos, so there is something I can control. Remember, when you've got Moon in the 8th house, actually, and same with the 6th as well, those are the nurses and the doctors and the surgeons. They dedicate their life to help others to heal. So you've got the ability to heal others. And when you have got Moon in the 12th house, well, your heart feels good when it is withdrawn from all the material mentality. So in many cases, the depression is around financials because 12th house is something to do with the bigger expenditures. So I'm working hard, I'm earning money, and I cannot still save any because I have to pay the bills, for instance. The danger of the Moon in the 12th that we can get lost in our worlds. So it's all about learning the sense of connectedness. There are things you can't really explain with Moon in the 12th house because you might feel that your life is karmic or fated, or maybe even somehow you are religious as well. You believe in something. And that's the key here. You must believe in something. Listen to your inner gut, and the mood can be shifting with the tides. So, this is the house of prison, and it means that your feelings are in your prison, in a prison segment of your brain. So, another house which indicates something to do with suppressed feelings and thoughts, and these might be communicating in psychosomatic ways. So we can easily create some type of illnesses for ourselves as well. The remedy with Moon in the 12th house is to learn how to laugh about yourself rather than falling into self pity. So here that Moon needs to talk, and talk about your problem, because eventually you make it disappear, you make it vanish. So, but any planet, for instance, in these houses can indicate emotional imbalance. So, the more planet you've got in there, the more it is possible, especially if you've got any stelliums in those houses. I've just recently done a stellium webinar, which is 6.5 hours in each houses and signs. So, check that out also. I wanted to mention though, with the sixth house, is that, the key here is to have fun. The reason being is because that's the second from the fifth. So making money from fun activities. So that's where the enjoyment comes from, which you have to practice with the sixth house. Now, also, number seven, indication of anxiety and depression in your chart. If you have got your fourth house cusp, especially your IC, in conjunction to Saturn, North Node, and South Nodes. Very briefly, because the fourth house is your emotional well being center. So, and those planets are quite restrictive. So, if you have got a north node there, usually it indicates that you have to make peace with some of your family karma, where I came from, making peace with your heritage. And if you have got south node, very similarly, I do have to make peace with that, but somehow maybe letting go of those emotions and then turning them into a talent. So, and of course, these planets can cause some type of inner insecurities here. Number 8 indication is when you have got a bucket in your chart and moon is the handle of the bucket. Now, the bucket is when you have got planets on one side of the chart within approximately about 120, 130 degree. So let's suppose your planets are from the ninth till the first house. And moon is a singleton, lonely planet, let's say somewhere in your sixth house. So the moon is actually getting plenty of burden from other planets, and she feels a little bit lonely there. So the moon is the key to your happiness in the house and the sign. What you should be doing to avoid stress, anger, and depression. Number 8 indication is, oh, sorry, you might have been wondering that, Victor, so you're talking about mental illnesses and you haven't even mentioned Mercury yet. But you do need to remember that depression and mental problems not only could be mental, but it could be emotional and physical reasons to it as well. So the one which we have described so far was more the emotional one, but that is very tightly connected to Mercury. Remember that Moon's planetary joy is the third house, because Moon wants to express, verbalize their emotional needs. So usually that's the reason why I did not really bring up Mercury yet. By the way, I will be doing a video for you in Mercury in all 12 houses, just to give you some idea how you can work with that. Um, and I would also say that life doesn't really come with a fixed agenda. You are the one who forms that. And of course, you're surrounding the people around you. And actually, ancient astrologers believe that there are four types of karma. And one of them is the one how we live our life and what type of karma we create for us for the next decade or so. So, meaning to life is something which we are not given. We have to look for it. So, therefore, it's worth having a look at your Jupiter placement, which could actually serve some type of remedy of how you can overcome your anxiety and depression in this incarnation. Because those who have got some mental illnesses, depression, they lost their way. They don't have a meaning to life. So Jupiter can give you a remedy. So you're going to have to look at Jupiter's house and sign placement. So maybe if it's about Jupiter being in the sign of Scorpio, that's all about learning to work with intimacy, but also something to do with occult studies or digging deep. And maybe it's in the ninth house. So following some type of spiritual rituals. That could be one of the remedies. So, imagine that you have got Jupiter in the sixth house. That's somehow service to others. So maybe you need to be working in a helping profession, working with people in need. You must remember that the mind and the soul are powerful source of energy, and your way of thinking is really determining how you feel about events happening in your life. So if you think about negative things all the time, then you are more inclined towards depression. So the number 9 indication of depression is something to do with very loads of water energy in your chart, especially Scorpio and Cancer. Well, Pisces as well. And because Scorpio has got the tendency to think negatively, and they believe that they attract drama or trouble into their life easily. Or also, I would be mentioning that um, for instance, Cancer is one of them who might have got some type of problem with that. I mean, with depression. And why is that? Because it's a cardinal energy. And that's going to be our number 10 indications if you have got plenty of cardinal energy. Don't forget, cardinal energy are all about crisis and action. Okay, so when we speak about Cancer, who approaches stress in an indirect way, because they are able to take on other people's problems and emotions, because we're talking about the nurturer archetype. Virgo is going to be our number 11 indication, actually. Virgo is all about service to others, and they might need to sacrifice plenty of things in their life for others. And Virgo is a perfectionist. It's about your nerve system. So actually, Virgo rules anything to do with anxiety. Virgo energies need to learn a lot more about self-care, working on themselves, and not being able to, and especially it's a problem when they are not able to live up to their own expectations. When they are not doing the right job, they easily burn out, and that also causes them stressful moments. Now, number 12 indication is when you have got Saturn on your ascendant. Now, Saturn is, well, in astrology, Saturn gets the worst rap ever. And I don't wish to take that away. I don't wish to take or demolish Saturn's power because it can be a kick ass energy, definitely in our chart. But Saturn has got so much goodies about it as well. Saturn is actually a talent planet in our chart. So this could show what area of life you need to learn the most about. So those obstacles are not relevant anymore in your chart. That shows what area of life you need to be in charge of or becoming more mature and take responsibility in that department. Maybe, yes, that's the area of life where we're going to have to practice some self discipline. Now, I have made a video about Saturn also, especially from a professional perspective. So I'm not going to waste your time by speaking about Saturn. Check that video out. It might be helping you to understand Saturn, why, for instance, why Saturn, I believe, the planet of talent. Now, but I give you an example. Let's imagine that you've got Saturn in the sign of Pisces, right? Let's say in the 10th house. So one of the ways you can make or you can take responsibility is through healing Pisces or spiritual ways and take spirituality a lot more serious. And if it's in the 10th house, maybe I even need to take or turn that into a profession. Saturn does talk about ways to become a master. So very important that you work with your Saturn, never miss Saturn in your chart. It needs to be read very thoroughly. Number 14 indication is if you have got too much earth and water element in your chart. Now, earth signs are very much related to security, financials, and stability. So if you have got way too much element of that, you might be disregarding the other area of your life. And especially if those are not going to be working out, then it might be leading to depression, right? So maybe if you've got way too much earth, you disregard your water elements, which is your emotions and inner self. And maybe you disregard your air quality, which is all about connectivity to others. And you're gonna feel the need to be connected to people, but maybe you are still not doing that. Um, and as I said, when you have got Saturn placement, it's all about, depression is something. If I wanted to give you a definition, my own definition, of course, that would be saying that you are being deprived of something and feeling powerless. So wherever Saturn is, maybe that's where some of these, that's where you are deprived of something, or that's where you feel the least powerful. And instead of trying to escape from that, we need to face the reality. So Saturn says, take inventory in that area of life, master your Saturn. Because yes, it is all about our fears as well. And of course, we want to be walking away from that area of life. Now, yeah, so these are the 13 indications what I wanted to share with you today. But, from a biological perspective, there is a very important hormone in our body which is responsible for any of these, which is called cortisol. And let's call it as a natural built-in alarm system in our body. So basically, this is your main stress hormone, and it works with certain parts of your brain to control your mood, your motivation and your fears. And by the way, cortisol is something which is ruled by the moon. Oh, and I would give you one extra bonus or a couple of extra stress indicators in the chart as well. When you have got Mercury retrograde being combusted, meaning that it's conjunct in the sun, those people have got very internalized thoughts. Usually they are very intelligent, but they are overthinking things, and their brain tends to be running 24/7. So one of the remedy you can be doing there is to write things down, to try to get out of your head, or journaling as well. That could be very helpful. But I am going to make you a video about Mercury in the 12 houses, briefly, how they can be indicating something around your mental well being. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Well, I'm not expecting plenty of you commenting on it, because I know this is a sensitive topic, and who wants to be sharing with the world that, yes, I do struggle. But if you do so, then, take into account some of those remedies which I've highlighted in this video. And you can work on that, and you have got a better chance to kind of lift up this energy in your life. Remember that depression is determined by your way of thinking. That's going to be one of the ways you're going to have to start working on that. And I know we are living in a very tough world at the moment. We've been locked up, and we start thinking, and of course it can't be helped, but the society very much formulates our way of approach to life. So if you like the video, don't forget to press like and ring the notification bell, and also share this video with others you think they might benefit from. See you very soon with another weekly forecast, as well as Mercury in the houses. So we're going to do a couple of videos about this topic. Have a blessed day, everyone, and see you very soon. Bye bye.